everyone, Niklsun here, and welcome to Coming Soon Movie News with Niklsun. I'm your host, and on this show, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we'll be going over all of the day's movie news and going over what it means for the production in general, such as casting decisions, trailer announcements, director announcements, things like that. So, without any further ado, let's get started with today's Hot Topics. And this first topic that I want to talk about today is rather exciting because it looks like we could be getting a new action franchise that is not part of a superhero film, or at least an established franchise that a lot of people out there are aware of. So this is very curious. There's a character out there named Mac Bolan. And Mac Bolan has been the subject of a lot of novels. He's a fictional character, but he's been the subject of a lot of novels, both from the original writer, Dan Pendleton, and once he sold the rights, there's about 600 novels or so in circulation about this character with ghostwriters and things like that. But he was a Vietnam vet who, when he came back, is very similar to Rambo in certain aspects. But he was a Vietnam vet who, once he was finished with his tour, he decided not to return to Vietnam, but he decided to take the skills that he had learned and go head on and attack the mafia that is circumventing all over the United States of America. And so he basically goes one city at a time to try to clear out all the problems. And this character's been around almost as long as James Bond, at least film-wise. The first Mac Bolan story was written in the late 60s, so I mean, he's been around for almost 50 years, about 45 to 50 years. And one of the cool things about this is that this is being geared as a potential starring vehicle for Bradley Cooper. So Bradley Cooper, right now, even though he is a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe just as a voice, a lot of people have been speculating that he could be some other actual character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe going forward. This would mean that he's not only going to have something like that, if that does end up happening, but he's going to have his own action franchise all to himself. Now, this is sounding really cool because it's got a very 80s action hero style to it. Shane Salerno is writing it, and he most recently, the one that a lot of people would remember him from would have been Savages, but he's written a lot of different projects, and one that he's got coming up is one of the Avatar sequels. So if James Cameron hires you as a writer, you've at least got some credibility in terms of the types of stories that you're wanting to tell. So he's written this new script, and it's supposedly, as of right now, going to be directed by Todd Phillips. Now, Todd Phillips has already worked with Bradley Cooper several times on the Hangover trilogy, and he's also done movies such as Road Trip and Old School and lots of other projects that he's worked on. But this would be his first straight-up action film, and I am actually kind of curious to see what he can do, because if you look at a lot of his films, even though they are straight-up comedies for the most part, they do have action elements to them, especially the Hangover films, even though they got worse and worse and worse as they went on. There's still some cool action moments and action beats in the film that I think he could really do well with a straight-up action film, especially with the comedic personality of someone like Bradley Cooper, because you could really play against type. You could make him... you could make the storyline and everything about that appear as though it's a straight-up action film, and then you could have his, charismatic, kind of roguish personality kind of come through, and I think it could really work. Shane Salerno did say that they are aiming for a PG-13 rating. Now, when I first read that, I cringed, because I said, oh, great, another action franchise that we're going to get that's going to be watered down by PG-13. The only thing that's going to be removed with a PG-13 rating, and Expendables 3 did prove this, is that blood and nudity and excessive swearing, those are the only things that are not allowed in anything higher than a PG-13 rating. So that means, and if you look at Expendables 3, it's still not all that great of a film. It's still fun, but it's not that good of a movie. But some of the action sequences in that movie, like, they kill so many people in that film, and you can really get away with a lot with a PG-13 rating, as long as you don't drop any F-bombs, you don't do any nudity, and there's not any real excessive blood. Even look at Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy is a movie that rated PG-13, and in the movie, Ronan the Accuser, this is not a spoiler, this happens like 5-10 minutes into the film. They don't actually show it, but they cut right before it happens. He takes his massive hammer and he crushes a guy's skull with it, and then the rest of the scene is watching the blood actually pour down all these little tubes and all these little trenches and stuff like that. Like, that's grotesque, but that's in a PG-13 movie that is marketed more towards kids. So the violence aspect is not a problem when it comes to the rating. It's just the additional content, such as swearing and stuff like that. If they don't necessarily need that, although I would like that, especially from someone like Todd Phillips starring Bradley Cooper. I really think that not restricting them as much could work out. And again, you could even do an R-rated movie with the same level of violence they were already going to go in PG-13, just have a little bit more swearing, have a little bit more natural reactions to certain things. Because I always hate, like, one of my biggest pet peeves was always watching 24. Love the show 24. But Jack Bauer, you could tell, especially in with the personality that he had, the attitude that he had, and the situations that he was in, he would not resort himself to just saying damn it all the time. He would be dropping a lot of other things. So you really get a sense of where they could try to take this story. You get a sense of what they could attempt to do with it. And even with a PG-13 rating, it's not really going to be removing that much from the storyline. It just makes it more accessible to more people. And again, it's all going to depend on the level of violence that's in the movie. It's not going to be Expendables style violence where they're just mowing down bad guys left and right. This is going to be more so about the morality of what to do in certain situations, because he was known as the executioner, like the character Mac Bolan was known as the executioner because of his brutal tactics, but he was also known as the mercy, the angel of mercy, or something along those lines, because of his compassion for innocent people. And even though he was ruthless in his executions of his missions, he was never out for blood. He was never out just to kill people. He was out to stop what was morally inconceivable. And I really think that someone like Bradley Cooper, especially the acting chops that he's shown in the last couple of years, I really think this could be a franchise that could really open him up as more, just offering him more possibilities and more roles. Everyone's wanted to see him in another action film ever since A-Team, because he had a lot of charisma. He knows how to handle the action sequences, and so I really think this is a great move. The only question still remains is whether or not Todd Phillips is going to be a good fit as a director. I personally think that he will be, but again, it's all up to interpretation, whether or not you guys really enjoyed his previous films or whether or not you thought that there was something left to be desired. Still up in the air, but we still got a long time before this project actually comes to fruition. So until then, I'll keep you posted on any new information that does come up. All right, and this next story is about a project that so far has just been riddled in speculation. I'm talking about Batman v Superman. So there's been an actor who's been signed up for the film for a while. We know he's playing an integral role, but outside of that, we have no idea what exactly he is playing. And the actor I'm talking about is Scoot McNairy. Now, Scoot McNairy had a very pivotal role in Argo, which starred Ben Affleck, directed by Ben Affleck, and written by Chris Terrio. All of those people are involved in this project. A lot of speculation first came out that he was playing Nightwing, and I'm glad that he's not, because I just don't think that Nightwing needs to be in this universe. It's just a character that they don't need. But then other speculation came out that he was playing this character, that character, this character, that character. Well, now we have even more. And I just wish that DC would come out, or Warner Brothers would come out and just say exactly who he is. I know they're not going to. They love this fan speculation aspect that just gets people talking more and more and more about the film. But some pictures actually came online. I'm going to put one up here about what he looks like on set. And it's very curious because he's in a business attire, but if you look at his knees and below, he has tight green spandex fabric around his feet and his legs up to his knees. And a lot of people have speculated, well, I mean, it's not really speculation. We know that that is for green screen removal and visual effects additions. So we know they're going to be replacing or augmenting his legs with something else. Now, there's two main theories that are going around right now. The one that has the most weight, at least the one that most people out there are talking about and have a little bit of evidence as to why that would be, is that he would be playing the Flash, that he is actually Barry Allen, and that those are, when he is running ridiculously fast, that they're just going to be replacing his legs. But the curious thing about that is, why did they only go up to his knees? That's one thing that a lot of people are kind of going, okay, that is kind of odd. If they're going to replace his full leg, you think they would go all the way up to his waist, and then they would digitally replace his entire leg. The other main theory is that he's playing Metallo or James Corbin. an early version of James Corbin turning into Metallo, who will be a major villain. And in the comics, especially when it deals with World's Finest, Metallo was one of the original villains that they fought. So there's a little bit more knowledge, or at least a little bit more insight as to who he might be playing. Again, this is all just rampant speculation. We still don't know. I'm actually on more of the side of the Flash, only because if he is the Flash, we pretty much, for the most part, have our we have our Justice League lineup, which means we have Batman, we have Superman, we have Wonder Woman, we have Aquaman, we have Cyborg, and now we have the Flash. And also, apparently, from what I've been hearing, I've looked around a little bit and actually seen a lot of people are running with this. Green Lantern is not going to be appearing in Batman v Superman, but apparently he will be in Justice League. So it looks like our Justice League is actually going to be 7 members, that's kind of interesting. Justice League has always been between 5 and 7, but a lot of people were assuming they were going to go on the lower end of that and go with 5 people, just to keep the story a little bit more contained. But this is interesting if they do that, because that means we're going to be reintroduced to Green Lantern in Justice League. And with them talking about having Green Lantern and Superman and even Shazam, these are all characters that are very similar in what powers they have and how they, not necessarily what their costumes are like, but just in terms of their appearance, in terms of what they can actually do. They can all fly. They can all go into space without needing any sort of oxygen mask or any sort of special suit. It's going to be intriguing to see how half of the members of the team have the ability of flight and the rest don't. So it's going to be interesting to see where they go with this, what sort of avenue they are attempting to go down. Now, again, this is speculation. We don't know if Flash is in the movie. We do know Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman are in the movie. We know Cyborg is in the movie. We are 99% sure that Aquaman is in there and that Jason Momoa is playing him. I'm pretty sure that he's Flash. I mean, It does make a little bit more sense for the Metallo aspect, where they're just replacing his legs with metallic legs. Other people have said that it's because he actually lost his legs in the Battle of Metropolis at the in the first movie, and the sequences that they're showing, at least with him in the suit, are set during that time, because we know part of the movie will be set during that battle from Batman's point of view. So maybe they are taking it from everybody else's point of view and saying, this was the catalyst that created a lot of the problems. The destruction actually is what caused James Corbin to lose his legs and to have them replaced with metallic legs and start this mental fascination with metallic augmentation. Or it's that we actually see him interacting as part of his regular job, and he sees somebody who needs help and he speeds off, and through that his pants actually become so tattered to the point where they need to have that CG. It'll just be easier to manipulate on camera, because I mean, with Man of Steel, I don't even know if they had a cape on set. The cape was completely digital for almost every sequence, if not every sequence in that movie. So they could be doing things like that. I mean, getting the physics and motion of the clothing in order to move the way that you want it to would be easier to manipulate using CGI, as long as you have the right team behind you. So they may be going with that. And obviously with a project like Batman v Superman, they literally have an unlimited budget. If they need it, they will get it. Warner Brothers is putting everything into this project. So I am almost convinced that it is Flash. At least I'm hoping that it is Flash. If it's Metallo, I'm not going to be upset. It's just, again, I feel that Batman v Superman and introducing all these characters, I don't like the idea of them taking another major villain from the comics and utilizing him, or should I say underutilizing him, and then having him be dispatched at the end of this film. Because you can't necessarily have a comic book movie of this size and not have the fatality of a villain. We know Lex Luthor's not going to get killed. If if Doomsday is in this film, which is rampant speculation is that he's in the film, I hope that he is not just a one-and-done villain. All these villains require multiple movies to really be fleshed out, because they are so fascinating, they are so powerful, and they are also revered by fans. So, I mean, it makes a little bit more sense for them to incorporate a character and build him up in this movie and then set him up for the sequel. That's kind of what I hope they're doing, and I hope they do focus more on Batman and Superman and their conflict that they do have, while also setting up all these other characters to appear in other movies. I mean, if we are getting a setup of Metallo, and we are getting a setup of Doomsday, and we are getting a taste of what Lex Luthor's diabolicalness will actually achieve, then I think that this movie is going in the right direction. But again, if they are trying to cram too much stuff in here and not reusing some of that stuff later on, such as the villains, I think we're going to be in for a massive letdown. But again, this movie is still a year and a half away. We still have a long time to go before we're going to get more information about this. But when we do, I will definitely update you guys on here. All right, the next topic is kind of tying into what I just talked about. It looks like The Rock has come out and actually confirmed that he is in a Shazam film. But that's all he confirmed. He will not say, he even said in the interview, he said he does not know whether or not he will be playing Black Adam or if he will be playing Shazam. He has not made his decision yet. And to me, there's a couple of avenues that you could go with this. First off, Shazam almost seems like the better choice to go with because it's going to be a larger role in the DC cinematic universe. Unless they are planning on taking the avenue with Black Adam where he is actually an anti-hero, where he is still the good guy who just doesn't really care about what he has to do in order to get the job done. And if they take that route, then they could have him appear in more films. But having someone like The Rock involved in a franchise means you need to keep him around for a long time. And someone like Black Adam, especially if you're going to introduce Black Adam in the first Shazam movie, that means he's going to be the villain, which means he's not, like, he is still a complex character, but he's not going to be around as often as a character like Shazam would be. Now, the flip side to that, Shazam, half the time on screen, or at least common knowledge would perceive it to be that half the time he's going to be Barry Batson, who was the kid. He was like a 12-year-old kid or a 10-year-old kid, and he yells Shazam, and that's when he turns into Shazam, who would presumably be The Rock. So the question remains, if he does choose Shazam, will they remove the Barry Batson character? Or will they make it so that he is Barry Batson at the beginning, and once he says Shazam, he turns into Shazam, and he stays as Shazam? They could do something like that. But, again, if he was to sign on, or we know he signed up, but if he was to sign on to a specific character, I do feel that Shazam would be the better option, only because we would get more films with him. And The Rock is well aware of his ability to go into a franchise and fix it. Not necessarily saying that DC needs it fixing, they just need to start it, which it looks like they're finally doing, but it's still interesting because he was signed on to a Black Adam movie about 5 years ago. Maybe about 6 now. But he was signed on to play Black Adam in a Captain Marvel movie about 6 years ago, and then that just fell apart. So the people out there are saying, well, he was Black Adam before, he's going to be Black Adam again. I don't know, because the DC Cinematic Universe has now been created. We now know that they have some sort of idea where they would like these movies to go, or at least which projects are going to pop up in certain times. So having him play Black Adam, I think, would be a step backwards, even though it's a fascinating character. I do think that he would have a little bit more fun with Shazam, but not only that, they'd be able to explore that character a little bit more. Again, this is all hinging upon the fact that Black Adam will be a true villain, that he is not an anti-hero. If he is played an anti-hero, I would see The Rock going more towards that character. But it's all going to depend on how they adapt the character. What version of the character are they going to go with? We still need to get that information out, but he's really playing coy. He did this last month as well, where he said that, the announcement will be made soon. It's like, okay, soon usually means within a week. 2 tops. You've now given us over a month. So a lot of people are starting to get a little frustrated. When I hear it, he'll come out and he'll say, yeah, I'm in Shazam, but I'm not going to tell you who I am yet. It's like, oh, you little jerk. So you got to wonder what is going on, whether or not it's just contract negotiations or if it is just him just toying with the fans. And The Rock knows how to do that almost better than anybody else. So it'll be interesting to see. But when we get the actual confirmation, when The Rock actually does come out and say, yeah, I'm playing this guy, I will definitely update you guys on here. And the next topic that we have to talk about is a project that I've been eagerly anticipating because I love the director. Jason Reitman, son of Ivan Reitman, who is the director of such movies as Ghostbusters, Stripes. I think that was Harold Ramis. Ivan Reitman has had a career spanning over 3 decades, and I'm drawing a blank on a lot of his other films. I'm thinking of certain films, but I think they're directed by other people. Anyway, Jason Reitman has done films such as Juno, Up in the Air. He did Young Adult, and most recently did Labor Day. Labor Day was not as well received as a lot of people were hoping for. But this movie looks like it's going to be something wholly unique. It's got a great ensemble cast. It's got Adam Sandler. It's got Rosemary DeWitt. It's got Jennifer Garner, Judy Greer, Ansel Elgort. It's just got a fascinating cast. But the thing about the trailer, and I've got the link in the description of this video below so you guys can check out the trailer for yourselves. There is not a line of dialogue in the movie, or at least in this trailer. It is all done through social media. And the whole purpose of the movie is the effect that social media has had on the class, on basically on family values, on a husband who no longer really has anything for his wife. The wife doesn't feel desired anymore, so she's going off and having an affair. He's also looking for escorts online because he feels that's all he can get. Then you have a character like Ansel Elgort who seriously has relationship issues where he deeply wants a relationship, and you can just see that with his performance in this movie, just looking through pictures of people being happy, and you can really see that he's really being affected by it. But other things are, Judy Greer's character, who is taking photographs of her teenage daughter, not necessarily illicit photos, but kind of provocative photos, and then posting them online just to get reactions for it, kind of living vicariously through her. So it's going to be a really introspective look into how families are today. And the tagline of the movie is find out about the people you're around, or how does it go? Know about the people who you spend all your time with, or something along those lines. Basically, you don't know anything about the people who you are around all the time, that you interact with, that are part of your family, that you love, that you care for. And this is a fascinating topic, especially in today's. This, just at first glance, with the topics that they're trying to go for and the talent that's behind it, this could, and I have to stress, could be another social network in terms of how relevant it is for the day that we live, for the time that we are alive right now, for what the impact of these things are doing to people, especially to teenagers and kids and young adults, to how it is actually affecting us. And the impact of this film could be big. The movie comes out in October. I believe it's October 3rd. But yeah, definitely check out the trailer. This movie shocked me at how intriguing this trailer was. Because again, there's no dialogue. It's all done through text bubbles. Either, emails that people have sent or text messages that they're sending. And or just what they're looking at on a computer, but there's no dialogue through it, and it's fascinating. I definitely recommend to check it out. The movie opens October 3rd, so when we get more information about this film, I will definitely update you guys on here. And the final topic that we have to talk about today is, by and large, and I even said this in my tweet, this is the WTF moment of the day. Johnny Depp and his daughter, Lily Rose Depp, have signed on to co-star with Harley Quinn Smith in Kevin Smith's new film, Yoga Hosers, which is supposed to start production within the next week or two. Now, this left field would be a neighbor compared to where this came from. This is so far out of left field. This is from the parking lot of that ball field. It's... Here, okay, I'm going to give you the actual plot breakdown of this, okay? Just listen to this. Yoga Hosers, written by Smith, centers on a 15-year-old yoga nuts, Colleen Collette, who is Lily Rose Depp, and Colleen McKenzie, who's played by Harley Quinn Smith, who have an after-school job at a Manitoba convenience store called A to Z, A spelled like the Canadian A. When an ancient evil rises from beneath Canada's crust and threatens their big invitation to a grade 12 party, the Colleens join forces with a legendary manhunter from Montreal named Guy Lapointe, played by Johnny Depp, to fight for their lives with, according to the producers, all 7 Sharkas, one warrior pose at a time. Wow. This movie sounds insanely weird. Just weird. I am so excited for this film because this is apparently the second chapter in his True North trilogy, which is starting off with Tusk, which I'm going to be going to see at TIFF in a couple of weeks. So I'm very excited about that. But there's been a rumor that Johnny Depp is actually in the movie Tusk and that he's playing a character named Guy Lapointe. Well, this just confirms it because now he's in the pseudo sequel. This sounds so crazy. I heard Smith talking about this a while ago, but there was not as anywhere near as much information about this. He has a fascination with Canada. He loves hockey. He loves coming up to Canada. He loves Toronto. And so really taking advantage of Canadian mythology. And it's funny because I'm born and bred Canadian and I've never heard of anything like this. But apparently this takes place within mythology, ancient mythology within Canada. So whether or not that's native mythology or something that he just came up with and is calling it mythology, we still don't know. But this sounds just crazy. Just crazy. I mean, Smith's turnaround means that we'll probably get this movie sometime early next year or maybe springtime or summer. Because he self-finances all of his movies now for the most part. This movie sounds like it'll be a little bit more expensive, so he'll probably have to get a studio to help him out. But it's described as an action-adventure comic book movie, so it's going to have that right off the page feel. I think it's going to be akin to a much more serious and horror element of Scott Pilgrim versus the World. This just sounds so weird, and oh my god, when I saw that, I went, what? This sounds... Oh, man. I am very much excited for this project. I really hope that this comes to fruition because Kevin Smith is one of those rare filmmakers out there where it's a love him or hate him. A lot of people do not like Kevin Smith, and that's understandable. There's elements of him that a lot of people don't like, and I can see that. But I just love how daring he is in all of his projects. Like you look at films like Zack and Miri Make a Porno, or you look at Red State. I mean, you can avoid cop-out like the plague. Still my favorite movie. It's almost a toss-up, but I think right now my favorite film of his is Mallrats, followed very closely by a tie between Dogma and Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Like, he has so many classics. Even Clerks 2 is a great film, but now he's really starting to branch out. I'm very interested to see Tusk and to see what he's able to do with that movie. It's like a Human Centipede type movie, but apparently with a little bit more comedy, which that's going to be hard because, Human Centipede was kind of a comedy, just not intentionally. So yeah, I mean, there's no release date or release information about this film, just that it's supposed to start production within the next week or two. But if we get more information about this, I will definitely update you guys on here because I want to know as much about this property as I can. This sounds so odd and weird and cool. I am definitely on board with this. But yeah, if we get more information about this, I'll definitely update you guys on here. Well, that'll do it for us here on Coming Soon Movie News with Niklsun. Thank you so much for watching. You guys have been a great audience. You can go ahead and click subscribe there in the bottom corner. You can get updates whenever we post a new video. You can also find me on Twitter at Niklsun, Niklsun, for all of your movie updates. And you can find me on my Facebook page at facebook.com/movie news with Niklsun. And until next time, you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.